You wake up in a mysterious room deep within a luxurious mansion. There's a fireplace roaring in the corner, a grandfather clock ticking away, and a faint green glow from which there appears to be no source. Deep within the mansion's foreboding interior is a casino and theater, and the arbitrary library and intricate hidden passages. You, playing as Lafcadio Boone, don't know any of this yet, though. Boone is too concerned by the bloodied white mask affixed to his face. As you pick yourself up off the ground, a woman emerges from a pool of blood, herself dripping in the thick red ooze. Rather than dragging you off to God knows where, she instead asks for your help. Several people are about to die tonight, she tells you, and it's up to you to save them. She hands you a broken pocket watch as your only aid, and instructs you to go to the chapel where world-renowned clockmaker Reginald Sixpence is about to meet his own maker. You rush to save him, but find an employee of the casino is already pointing a gun at him. He pulls the trigger and walks away. You're too late. But that's not how time works in the Sexy Brutale. Time is on your side. As quickly as you wake up, you're knocked out again. You wake up moments later in the same spot as before. Try again, the bloodied woman pleads. Learn Sixpence's routine and that of the murderer, and you can save him. That is when the Sexy Brutale really begins.
Oh, what a waste of time.
2017 is so far a spectacular year for video games. That's true of both the AAA industry and of indie games. Night in the Woods astounded everyone with its charming writing and heart. Rime is a game of adventure and wonder, not unlike The Legend of Zelda or Ico. Rime's developer, Tequila Works, previously released Deadlight, a rather mediocre zombie game from 2012. It's stunning the turnaround they've had since then, including working on the Sexy Brutale. Perhaps that compliment isn't entirely accurate. Tequila Works merely co-developed and published the Sexy Brutale. They put most of their design work in the stunning artwork and graphics. It was UK-based newcomer Cavalier Games Studio who led the charge, laying the inspirational and design groundwork. The difference in leadership is apparent to anyone tempted to compare this and Rime. The two simply couldn't be any more different. Taking place over the course of a single Saturday at the titular Sexy Brutale, it's up to you as Boone to not simply solve 10 murders, but prevent them from ever happening. You have a 12-hour window to do your business from noon to midnight. When the clock strikes midnight, you pass out and find yourself back at the last checkpoint at noon. The first murder is little more than a tutorial, an ingenious string of events that not only introduces you to the world, but teaches you the basics. There is no Sherlock Holmes-esque investigation work here. You won't be traversing the mansion in search of clues, looking for a whodunit and pinning the potential crime on the butler with a corkscrew in the bathroom. In the deceivingly cartoony world of the Sexy Brutale, your greatest tool isn't a magnifying glass, but that pocket watch the bloodied woman gave you. This watch allows you to manipulate time. It makes you both a hero and a sadistic bastard, as you're forced to replay the events leading up to somebody's gruesome murder, and the murder itself, time and time again. How often you need to do this depends on how long it takes you to cotton on to the course of events. All you are given are the basics, who the victim is, and when they're going to die. The rest is up to you. At its heart, the Sexy Brutale is an old-fashioned adventure game. You move around the environment examining objects, picking up items that may be of use, and then using them at the right time. But you never feel like you're playing an adventure game thanks to all the clever little things Cavalier has done. For a start, every character wears a mask. As well as lending a uniquely compelling aesthetic, they also gift special abilities to its wearer. Every time you solve a murder, you're given a new mask with new abilities. You might obtain one that gives you better hearing or the ability to pick locks. These abilities open entirely new possibilities to the player. You'll be able to enter areas of the mansion that were previously locked off to you, and in that sense, the game plays much like a Metroidvania. These abilities also unlock playing cards and guest invitations, each of which gives you an extra piece of the backstory on the mansion, its owner, and the guests you're trying to save. Cavalier has created a system of game mechanics that feed into each other, like a snake deep-throating its own tail. As you solve murders, you unlock new abilities, which in turn unlock more of the backstory, which informs the main plot. All of this contributes to the game's rich atmosphere, which is its greatest strength. It grabs you by the collar and doesn't let you go until you've seen each grisly murder through to its end, its beginning, and its end again. Like the gameplay, the atmosphere is an elaborately decadent web of great design decisions. Tequila Works' art speaks for itself. Without their eerie yet captivating vistas, characters, and intricate masks they adorn, this game would have been much lesser. They've perfectly combined the aesthetics of goth culture with its weeping angels, ravens, and skulls, a Mardi Gras parade with its colorful masks and party-like adornments, and an old-timey casino with its seedy bars, gambling tables, and plenty of liquor on tap everywhere you look. The sexy Brutale feels like a real, lived-in mansion for you to go and explore. The fact that it reveals more of its many secrets to you as you progress further cements my belief that this game's location will go down alongside Shadow Moses and the Spencer Mansion as some of the single most memorable locations in gaming history. On top of the art is the writing. Luckily, this is not one of those indie games that tries to be artsy or innovative by emulating a silent film. Characters in this game speak to each other, quite frequently, with dialogue as sharp as a hot katana through a rival ninja's buttery face. You won't speak much with the victims or murderers, as the special power of that white bloodied mask you start with keeps you from being in the same room as any living person wearing a mask. Notice I said living person there. The underlying gothic horror of this game continues with ghosts, which you eventually gain the ability to see and talk to. These ghosts are a huge part of the game. They occasionally give you clues, they might get in your way, or they can give you playing cards for more backstory. They also add to the game a needed layer of humor, dressed like pirates and constantly talking about needing to find smut. Not porn, mind, these ghosts are far classier than that. Rather than talking to victims and suspects, you instead watch their lives play out through a literal keyhole, or listen in on them once you get your supersonic hearing power. Listening in as the guests speak to each other, as well as the murderer's staff, will clue you in on how they each deal with their personal crises and try to figure out what's going on. What they're saying and who they're saying it to is often as important as figuring out where they are or where they're going to be next. Sound design also plays an immeasurable part in the Sexy Brutale's atmosphere. Each corner of the mansion echoes with great music, the ticking of clocks, and other little noises that serve to keep you from ever feeling comfortable. What you'll notice most, however, are the sounds of each murder playing out through the mansion over the course of the day. You won't understand what these noises are at first, but as you progress, you'll be able to pinpoint not only where these sounds come from, but also who was killed by them. Oh, and did I mention that great music? This game's main theme was hopelessly stuck in my head for days after hearing it just the first time. Finally, the piece de resistance that ties everything together are the murders, as well as how you go about stopping them. Despite the time-traveling mechanic, ultimately it's up to you to put together all the pieces and solve the mystery. You have to take everything into account: the location of the victim, everyone they interact with, their personality, job, and hobbies that may clue you in on where they might be going, as well as the whereabouts of their would-be murderers, so none of them get the drop on you. If you screw up, the person you're supposed to save could end up dead, you could be attacked for entering the wrong room, or you might not learn an important part of the victim's routine or find an item that could save them in time. As an added layer of challenge, you don't get to keep the items you've collected when time resets for the day, just the knowledge you've gained. This prevents you from ever hoarding key items and reusing them when and wherever you want. Instead, you have to take time into consideration. When is the best time to run and get this item? Is it better to hit this switch first, or go and get that thing you need to stop something else from happening? The whole game is a juggling act. Only through careful observation and paying close attention to people and your surroundings can you ever prevent these murders. That's not to say the Sexy Brutale is an especially difficult game. How hard or easy it is will depend on how observant and patient you are. If you're not willing to stare through a keyhole like a peeping Tom for 10 minutes listening to two characters chat, this may not be the game for you. As great as the game is, there are a few drawbacks though. They're so small they probably require a special mask from the game to see, but they're there. The biggest issue for me is that there's no voice acting. The game is bursting with fun, colorful, and interesting characters, and I think having high quality voice acting could have added another layer of depth. It's by no means a deal breaker, or even a problem really. Think of it as a nice steak dinner in which the steak is cooked perfectly, but there are no grill marks. It would have been nice, but it's no big deal. My only real complaint is that the solution to one of the murders, Tequila Bells, is just silly. It's the closest the game gets to an old school point and click, guess what the developer is thinking kind of random solution, and it really stands out because her murder itself is one of the highlights of the game. Some people have complained about losing your item each time the day resets. Considering this is one of the key mechanics of the gameplay, I don't give this complaint much merit. The puzzles are built around observation and learning where things are, when to get them and when to use them. If you could just pick up objects and permanently keep them, then there'd be nothing stopping you from blindly running around, grabbing everything, and then rubbing objects against stuff until you stumble upon the solution. I've also heard tell that Boons' slow walking pace can be a bit tedious. Yeah, I noticed that too at first, but a majority of the rooms are so small it ended up not being that bad. Plus the rooms are full of so much detail, text, and collectibles, it never feels like you're walking slowly because you spend so much time just looking at stuff. In conclusion, that is why everyone else is wrong, and dumb, and stupid, and why I'm right. The Sexy Brutale lacks the immediate message apparent in Papers, Please, and Limbo, though it's got one hell of an ending, and it doesn't have any truly revolutionary gameplay mechanics like Undertale or Her Story. As a result, it may not go down as one of the all-time great indie games like those. But it should, because the Sexy Brutale does everything right. It hits every note perfectly, and it's easily one of the 2 or 3 best games of 2017, indie or otherwise. If you loved this video as much as I love the Sexy Brutale, or David Hayter, then please wipe up your slobber, and why not check out Cliqist.com? You can even donate to our Patreon page while you're at it. You know, I gotta be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Rhyme, but going forward I am going to be keeping a close eye on both Cavalier Game Studio and Tequila Works'... works. And, if you guys are watching and ever need a voice actor, well, I think you know where to look. Me.